Hello everyone, today I'll tell you what kind of house I want to build, under what circumstances, why I made this choice, what the construction and layout will be, and at the end, a little bit about the prices. When I lived in Crimea and had land, I wanted to build a house. According to a ready-made Polish project from the Z series called Project Z7, it's a three-room house with an area of about 100 square meters. It looks pretty nice, at least to my taste, after searching through almost the entire internet. I chose this project because on one hand it's simple in terms of construction and on the other hand it has some interesting features. Like terraces, like a panoramic window, and all of this looks pretty beautiful. The layout includes 3 rooms and a bathroom, which can become a separate toilet and bath. A combined bathroom makes no sense, and in a 3-room house it's awful. There is a small storage room and a combined kitchen living room, which I'll discuss. I read comments where a lot of people are upset, like, yeah, when you cook in the kitchen everything will smell. And I immediately have a question. People, what are you cooking that it smells so bad? For some reason when I cook it smells delicious and appetizing. Just don't cook things that smell bad, or cook them at a time when it doesn't bother anyone. And I have experience living in homes with a combined kitchen and living room. I liked it, so I chose this option for myself as well. One day, the circumstances of my life changed drastically, and I had to leave Crimea and return to my homeland, the Leningrad region. I bought a plot of land in the Leningrad region, and now I have to build with, let's say, less money, which, like most people in the Russian Federation, I don't actually have on hand. At the same time, I want to build without using borrowed funds, meaning no loans or mortgages, and I can't afford the full cost of a Z7 without borrowing money. So there are two ways to solve this problem. The first way is to lower the quality of construction, reduce the comfort of the materials used, the visual aspects, and so on. I ruled out that option. The second way is to reduce the size of the house, since my family circumstances only require space for one additional person, and I don't plan on having children for quite a few years to come. And even if that changes, there will be a way to address the situation. What did I come up with after digging through a huge amount of information on the internet? For some reason, almost no one builds small houses or talks about them for themselves. I determined that a comfortable area is about 50 square meters, and there are only a handful of ready-made house projects like that. And I didn't find any beautiful ones at all. Maybe they look nice on the outside, but that's only in the pictures. I know that when it's built, even if it's efficient, it won't be practical, so I decided to take the full Z7 project, remove this room, remove that room, get rid of the storage, move the hallway, and instead of the storage, make the bathroom separate and shift it toward the hallway. We get this kind of square, and we keep the entrance, which accordingly moves to the center. We keep this terrace and keep the entrance. And the question arose, what will it all look like in the end? Because if the proportions are off, if the architect's idea and the layout are disrupted, this whole beautiful picture can fall apart completely. And what will this cut-off Z7 look like as a square? Not an elongated building, but a square one. How will it look? It's completely unclear. While investigating this, I recalled similar pictures online. See how it looks? You can tell it's computer graphics, not a photo. How is this result achieved? There is a program called Google SketchUp. It looks like this, and it's pretty easy to figure out. You can make a 3D model of whatever you want. With the help of a plugin called V-Ray, materials are applied to the house and, if necessary, to the surrounding area. Then the plugin performs what's called rendering, and in the end we get an image like this, and you can see what you want to make will look like. As a result, I created the model and realized that, for example, I know how to use SketchUp, but I don't know how to use the V-Ray plugin. And after watching a few hours of tutorial videos, I realized that this process could take up to a week, because you can figure it out. It's not rocket science, but the process will take a while. Plus, after creating the model, I realized that there's really no need to do rendering through V-Ray at all. Because, well, look, yeah, everything looks pretty harmonious, and even with the proportions of the original Z7 being off, everything still looks pretty good. I'll try to make it as close as possible to this picture. I'll just cut off this part, and the rest as well. All the decorative elements, the colors, the materials will be preserved and just made a bit smaller. Let's move on to the layout. We enter the hallway, and on the left we see an almost built-in mirrored closet, mirrored from floor to ceiling, huge in size, allowing you to fit all your clothes and your partner's clothes in there, and even your child's clothes and so on. Here I put a shoe cabinet where you can toss some small things, and everything is quite spacious and functional. Again, I have experience living in a house where it was done this way. I used all of this in practice and it was convenient. The first door on the right is our bathroom, or more precisely the washroom. When I rented apartments, I usually ran around with a tape measure to check the layout, and in my current place almost everything matches except for the window. And also the room itself is smaller. Here it's actually bigger than in the apartment, so it will be very comfortable here. A huge sink fits in here, it's almost a meter, and all of these things, the bathtub, the cabinet, and all the other furniture. It's made just to understand the concept itself, meaning I haven't developed the design project yet. In SketchUp, you can add anything, cabinets, sofas, and more. With thousands of options, you can search for exactly what you need. In the end, it'll probably take a week for that. Going to the store and buying it there would be faster than choosing everything through SketchUp. I have a rough idea of what I want, and the most important thing is whether it fits, I mean by size. Here, everything is drawn to scale, all the appliances are placed according to their dimensions. And just to really understand how it will be used in terms of functionality, the actual finishes, furniture, and appliances will differ somewhat from what you see here, with some questionable choices. This is the window in the bathroom, but without this window the whole picture would be lost, otherwise it just wouldn't look right. I was planning to tint the windows anyway. From the outside it will look like a mirror, so when we look from inside the house we can see everything, but from the outside it will be reflective, maybe with a certain tint. And I'll need to work on the waterproofing of this windowsill area, and I haven't figured out the ventilation yet, it's not shown here, I'll work on that a bit later. Now let's go to the bathroom. A storage water heater will be installed on the wall. He has lived in houses with both storage and tankless water heaters, and he liked the storage type much more. A demonstration installation will be set up as a vent. How do you use it? This is roughly how everything will look. Instead of a vent, there will be this installation. The wall behind will be moved forward to the level of the cabinet, so it will be a false wall behind which all the connections will go. The boiler will be hidden in the cabinet, so again no wires, pipes, or anything else will be visible. You open the cabinet and get access to the boiler. The sewer pipes and water supply will go there. Behind the false wall here and here, behind the slope of the bathtub, there will be an outlet, so we'll have an outlet here as well. Let me get a little ahead of myself here. Here we have the kitchen, because the kitchen was moved and we need both the water supply and the drain for the kitchen. There are two options, either to embed all of this into the floor or to make a single spot for supply and drainage and then embed everything into the floor. Should I make two outlets and combine everything outside, or choose another option? I'll pick the most rational one. Also, a bit later, the next room straight ahead is the bedroom. It's small, but I only plan to sleep there, so it doesn't need to be big. Again, there's a built-in huge mirrored wardrobe that can fit absolutely everything you want, a big bed, two bedside tables, and you can decorate this wall with something very interesting. And the last room is a combined kitchen and living room with access to the terrace. There won't be any steps here and the ceiling won't go all the way up, but it will be a little over 2 meters high. I have all the markings on the drawings, and the terrace will look exactly like this. You can put a table and chairs here and enjoy your coffee outdoors on a summer morning. The kitchen will have a different design again, but the layout of the equipment will be roughly like this. So in practice it might be possible to change or rearrange something there, but as I see it, this setup is quite convenient. Everything here is within reach, you don't have to go anywhere, and nothing gets in anyone's way. The window is an excellent solution. Many people might notice that there's no dining table. I have a personal habit. I don't eat at the table, I eat at the computer. In this spot, most likely, a rather narrow special table will be set up and my computer workspace will be here. Over here, there will be a coffee table maybe, and everything will look very harmonious. The chair can be moved over here, and you can sit down on the couch and eat at the table, and if needed, more than one person can do this comfortably. Yeah, they're as crazy as me. Oh, Pete. A table is set up in the space between the kitchen and the couch, and you can eat like a normal person. That's the solution. This room is from the finished Z7 project, from the full version of Z7. So I don't have anyone, I won't have a fireplace, but I like this room, so I'll try to do something similar to this kind of setting. Again, one of the controversial points is that when we're sitting on the couch, part of the hallway and the bathroom door will be visible. In a full Z7, since there's a hallway, we just see the hallway wall. Will this bother me? I don't know, maybe everything will be fine, maybe you can get used to it, maybe it won't be annoying at all, or maybe it will really bother me. There's a solution to this problem. We take this wall and move it here, take this wall over here, put a door here, and we get an isolated room. Why do this? It's pretty simple because in this house only the exterior walls are load-bearing. All the partitions are just enclosing structures, and you can remodel them however you want at any time before the final interior finishing. A bit about the construction, since the original planned region for building was Crimea, and I already had a plot of land that I was working from. In the local conditions, there was practically no groundwater to speak of. That's why I planned to use a shallow strip foundation and ground level floors as the foundation. In the conditions of the Leningrad region, there is a high groundwater level. With a high groundwater level, you can't use a shallow strip foundation. At what level its use is allowed, I don't know at the moment. I need to study this question in more detail. That's exactly the nuance here. Again, the conditions on the site are far from disastrous, the site isn't flooded, and there's still an opportunity to raise it. I'll try to solve everything in such a way that it will be possible to use a shallow strip foundation. If it turns out to be impractical and there are concerns that something might crack somewhere, then I'll use a different technology. The walls will be made of aerated concrete blocks D300 since a full second floor or attic isn't planned. That will be absolutely sufficient. Again, this is the practical side of the issue. Plus, according to the calculations, everything checks out. So D300 can be used in this case: interior finishing, plastering for painting, exterior finishing, or the so-called wet facade technology, meaning a D300 wall thickness. Even the D300 block doesn't pass in the conditions of the Leningrad region. In terms of thermal engineering, you need to insulate, and accordingly this means a bit more expense and some problems from the point of view of decoration. Workers use battens, lay insulation, cover it all with fiber cement boards, and then the fiber cement boards are plastered. So in this case, everything is done exactly like that, using fiber cement boards. And houses like this you can see for yourself, and who would guess that this house is actually a frame house? You'd never know. It looks like a stone house with plaster, but it's actually a frame house covered with fiber cement boards and plaster. There's just a regular gable roof there, nothing interesting to say about it from an engineering perspective. It's planned to install underfloor heating throughout the entire floor area using electric cables. The heating system in the house will either be convectors or air heating using an air conditioner that can heat rooms with distribution through the ventilation system that will be provided. It's a bit more expensive, but it will save a lot on electricity bills. So I will calculate the overall efficiency of using the air heating method and see whether I should go with convectors or air heating, since there is experience with both. I wouldn't say they're expensive, but they're definitely not the cheapest. There are just Toshiba convectors, there are convectors. In the Leningrad region, a room was heated using such a convector. It has three modes: 600, 900, and 1.5 kilowatts. All last winter for 95 days the 600 watt consumption mode was on. At the same time I made sure all other electrical appliances were turned off. I came, looked at the meter, and it showed a consumption of 480. So yes, that's what it counts for me. That's what I'll be paying for, 480. The 600 mode is active, so consumption is even lower. I only used the 900 mode for a few days when it nearly reached -20. With sufficient energy efficiency in the house, if it's built according to thermal engineering standards, the electricity bills will be small. Why? Another reason why I want to switch to fully electric heating, even considering that in the gardening cooperative where I have my plot, they will be installing gas next year. Electric heating allows you, with relatively low costs and simple installation, to set up a single control panel where you just press a couple of buttons, set the desired temperature, and under any circumstances, your house will always have the same constant temperature. It's very convenient, it's very comfortable, so that's why I support this solution. You might say that modern gas boilers allow you to do pretty much the same thing. I agree, but modern gas boilers cost so much more, it's not even comparable to the price of a convector. That's one thing. Secondly, I have experience living in a house with heating from a gas boiler and having to call a technician to repair that gas boiler. Because when it breaks down in the middle of winter, you're panicking, don't know what's wrong, and about to freeze. What should you do? Where should you go? How do you fix this? And what will it cost? That's the nightmare, damn it, because with a convector you just go, it costs this much. So, for example, yeah, I can just go to the store, buy it, bring it in my car, and that's it. Problem solved. With this boiler, it's really a pain in the neck, a real hassle if God forbid something happens. Plus, there are a huge number of requirements for these boilers for installing boilers. There are always some inspections with these meters, my God, there's always something going on, you'll have a headache all the time. When it comes to electricity, everything is very simple, and that's one of the strongest arguments in favor of electricity over gas. Let me explain the point. In Leningrad, things are like this. It's a huge country and everywhere is different. Where I am, in the Leningrad region, the cost of connecting to gas ranges from 200 to 300,000 rubles. That's just for the opportunity to connect, just that, yeah, without any equipment, wiring or anything else, there will be more expenses, costing you even more. Just look at the situation. Yeah, let's say our equipment costs the same amount of money, but you didn't pay anything for connecting the electricity. You need to pay at least 200 for gas, but it's usually 300. In my case, it's likely 300, but let's assume the minimum of 200. Imagine buying the equipment for a set price, but connecting the gas costs 200,000. So take this stack of 200,000, put it, let's say, on a debit card where you get interest on the balance, and for example, it will even cover inflation for you. In that case, you just use this 200,000 to pay your electricity bills, to pay for electric heating, and if you take this stack of 200,000 and use it to pay your electricity bills, it won't run out anytime soon, maybe in 10 years or even more. At the same time, technology doesn't stand still, development is happening very quickly. The same goes for basic solar energy. A kilowatt of solar energy is getting much cheaper every year. And who knows what opportunities we'll have in 10 years. Most likely the connection cost will be higher, but you'll have less hassle, and this amount of money will go much further. Also, and what about water for 10 years? Either a water supply connection or a well is planned. I'll assume it's more cost effective if it's a well. You need to find out about the well. If the cost is the same as connecting to the water supply, I'll go with the well. As for wastewater disposal, it will be a septic tank. When it comes to money, no matter how we calculate the construction cost, in any case, we end up with the cost per square meter. Whatever we do, we can't get away from the cost per square meter. Based on my experience, I can say that this is the minimum, the very minimum amount you can count on. Provided that you build it yourself, that you have experience, that you don't make mistakes, and that you use some of the cheapest building materials. In this case, the absolute minimum cost per square meter will be close to 30,000 rubles per square meter. This isn't something slapped together from sticks and mud, it's something you can actually build with your own hands. Yes, there are a ton of examples on YouTube of people who built for even less than 30,000 per square meter, but I'm sure they cut corners somewhere. And they'll just end up overpaying in the future because if you skimp on insulation, you'll just pay more for heating. Also, for materials like aerated concrete blocks, prices range from 4,000 to 8,000 rubles per cubic meter. And the difference in price isn't just for nothing. When you use more expensive, higher quality materials, you get a different level of comfort. The average, more realistic price point that's closer to reality is 50,000 to 60,000 rubles per square meter. This is already when using higher quality building materials, at least partially hiring labor, which means you get a completely different level of comfort in your home. So if you build a house, let's take two houses. One built for 30,000 per square meter and one for 60,000. These will be two different houses, two different levels of comfort. So, a fully finished Z7, which is about 100 square meters turnkey, with furniture, finishing, exterior work, and engineering, will cost about 5,000 rubles per square meter. Yes, not many people have that kind of money. If we go the route of reducing the area and decrease it to 50 square meters, then it will cost 2,500,000 instead of 5 million. Plus, I plan to move in without exterior finishing, so you can subtract a few more 100,000 rubles. Maybe there will be something else that can be left unfinished and completed later. Right after moving in, I'll try to move into my own place as soon as possible, when the channel reaches 1,000 subscribers. I'll post links in the description of this video to the AutoCAD drawings and the full version of the Z7 as well as my reduced version, a 3D model file in SketchUp. I'll create drawings with all dimensions shown as images for those without AutoCAD. So subscribe to the channel, support its development, and if anyone has any suggestions, comments, or anything else, feel free to leave them in the comments. Write anything, I read everything, and will reply to everyone. Thank you all the best, goodbye for now.